Public service announcements to all Europeans. I highly doubt any European is gonna watch this video, but at least I can say that I've tried. Instead of doing nothing for this movement, I'm just gonna do a summary of this whole thing. So it all started from Ubisoft shutting down The Crew, and that's when people started realizing, hey, we don't own our games, we just buy the license to play them. It was only after the backlash that they provide an offline mode. And even if you look at Blizzard's terms and condition, you can actually read, Blizzard reserves the right to terminate this agreement at any time for any reason or for no reason at all, with or without notice to you, which is insane. And the most ironic thing out of all this situation is that EA did not get the memo. Not long after this stop killing games movement received some wave, they announced that they're killing off the Anthem. And this whole thing started actually because, there is an article that says that 87% of retro games are lost due to lack of game preservation, which is done by the Video Game History Foundation, as they contacted the ESA, which is a representation of the game developers in the US, and of course they denied. Are we really surprised? No. It's because they said that it's due to safety concerns and protecting copyright laws, even though it is used for educational purposes, which is stupid. And their reasoning behind it is that the industry's creative and economic vitality depend on strong copyright reasons. ESA and its member companies actively support professional efforts to preserve video games and do so in ways that do not jeopardize future economic opportunity. You see the problem with that last line, economic opportunity. Of course they don't want to preserve games because that would mean that they have to innovate. It would mean that they would compete with their old selves, which are essentially better versions of themselves, because back then games used to be fun and not filled with microtransactions and made it into a live service game. And it is not helped by Pyre Software's controversy when he took the side of the game publishers. I'm 99% sure that he is paid to say this, allegedly. Don't quote me on that, but he literally misinterpreted the whole movement by saying that it is unrealistic for games to be supported indefinitely.
If there's any costs associated with keeping the game online, which this was an online video game, then eventually it costs more to keep it online than it does to keep running it, right? So the cost outweighs the amount of income for it.
And that's not what the movement is all about. It just meant that video game publishers should make an end-of-life plan for the game so that it can be played even after they stop supporting it. And it is not saying that making multiplayer games single player after losing support either.
There are some people that'll say, well, just make it all single player. Well, I've explained that doesn't make any sense in the first place.
Because that's not what we want. We're just making sure that people can still play. You do realize that people can still play using private servers, right? That's how old and classic games are still alive to this day. Luckily for us, the whole Pyre Software controversy actually put Stop Killing Games on the spotlight and managed to receive 1 million signatures. But the problem is that some of them will be eliminated due to invalidation. It could be fake, we don't know. It could be bad actors, we don't know. But the fact is that we managed to reach 1 million signatures and we're still going up because to compensate for some fake ones. And of course, after receiving attention, the Video Game Europe replied by saying that we appreciate the passion of our community. However, the decision to continue online services is multifaceted, never taken lightly, and must be an option for companies when an online experience is no longer commercially viable. Again, they're misinterpreting the whole point of this whole movement. We're not asking you to support it indefinitely. We're just asking you to make sure there's an offline mode, or make sure that people can still play it by hosting private servers. And of course, they're gonna use the safety reasons. Of course, they're gonna use the safety card. Private servers are not always a viable alternative for options for players, as the protections we put in place to secure players' data. Right. Remove illegal content. Right. And combat unsafe community content would not exist and would leave right holders liable. In addition, many titles are designed from the ground up to be online only. In fact, this proposal would curtail developer choice by making these video games prohibitively expensive to create. You see the problem there? They're using the safety card again. If you stop supporting it, why should you care? You realize that it's in a private server. They can do whatever they want. People can play whatever they want. People can do whatever they want in the game. So this reason doesn't work because, oh, then back then LAN to LAN cable gaming is bad then because it leaves players vulnerable. It's so stupid. Like there's so many examples of games where they can host private servers so that they can still play it. It is not prohibitively expensive to create. Of course they're against this because it would hurt their bottom line. So the fact that they're worried is good because that means that we actually might have a chance, I hope. And you know, I have to put a disclaimer that I'm not a European. I'm far from it. My government is as useless as Twitch moderators towards Hassan Piker's problematic behavior in Twitch. So enough of that. So to all Europeans out there watching this, I highly doubt any Europeans are watching this, but please sign. If you're watching this, please sign. Everyone wins in this situation because it is your game. You bought it with your own money. No one should be able to take it away. So thank you for watching. And as for the next video, I have no idea. But go sign it. It's in the description.